Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with Monday Night Raw, broadcast live last night on USA Network from the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia. In the main event, Braun Breaker regained the Intercontinental title from Jey Uso, due in part to outside interference from the Bloodline.
The Samoan Werewolf, Solo's enforcer, Jacob Fatu, may have just altered this championship match. Braun Breaker tosses Jey Uso back in the ring.
Jey Uso looks done already.
23 miles an hour when he hits those ropes, and the super spear is landed. The badass to win back the belt. He has done it.
Here's your winner and new Intercontinental Champion, Braun Breaker!
The loss ends Uso's title reign at just 4 weeks. In the opening segment, Seth Rollins jumped Bronson Reed while Reed was entering the building, then called Reed out to the ring where a pull-apart brawl ensued that continued throughout the first half of the show, culminating in Adam Pearce making the match between them for Crown Jewel. In tournament matches to determine the number one contenders to the World Tag Team title, Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio beat the Creed brothers, and the New Day beat the Authors of Pain due in part to a distraction from R-Truth. Following the match, the Final Testament attacked Truth until the Wyatt Six appeared and attacked the Final Testament. Also on the show, Women's World Champion Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez were disqualified in their match against Io Sky and Kairi Sane due to interference from Last Legend and Jakara Jackson. After the match, Rhea Ripley ran out and attacked Morgan Rodriguez and Dominic Mysterio. In ratings news, last Friday's episode of SmackDown experienced another drop in viewership with 1.378 million tuning into USA Network as compared to 1.652 million viewers the week before, according to WrestleNomics. That's a loss of more than 15%. The rating in the 18 to 49-year-old demographic was a 0.42, also down from the previous week's rating of 0.49. AEW Rampage the same evening drew the lowest 18 to 49 demographic rating in the history of the show, coming in at 0.06 according to WrestleNomics. The overall audience for the show was 234,000, down 7.5% from the previous week's audience of 253,000. In more WWE news, ring announcer Samantha Irvin has announced her departure from the company in a post on social media. No reason for the departure was given, and there were no specifics on what she might have planned for her future career. Irvin has been ring announcing for WWE since 2021, when she was first hired as the announcer for 205 Live. She has been the ring announcer for Monday Night Raw since last year. She is currently engaged to Ricochet, who recently departed WWE for AEW. Starting with last night's episode of Raw, Irvin has reportedly been replaced on a full-time basis by Lillian Garcia, who formerly ring-announced for WWE in the 2000s and 2010s. And finally, in NXT news, the brand is coming to Philadelphia's 2300 Arena, formerly known as the ECW Arena, on November 6th, according to an announcement made yesterday. The episode is scheduled to air live on the CW on a Wednesday night as opposed to its usual Tuesday night time slot. Said Shawn Michaels, quote, "The city of Philadelphia has a rich wrestling history, and we are excited to bring a night of unforgettable action to such a storied venue," end quote. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.